What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the show. Hope everybody's doing okay today. Hope everybody had an awesome day. Mine was pretty good, really productive, really productive. Hot. It was only like 89 degrees, but the humidity was like 7,000%. So that with the heat index, it was like 103. So it was brutal. Um, it was pretty hot today. Feels pretty good right now. I'm out on the porch. I think I'm gonna continue to do this out on the porch from now on. It's comfortable out here. Better. I don't like being cooped up in the house if I don't have to be. So let's see who we got in here. Professor Falcon or Falcon. Hey, Ghost, got my grow bags and my spuds sprouting. That is awesome. My second round of taters doing pretty good. I put a little video out today, a little garden update. My sweet potatoes are up, and little reds are they're coming back from the dead, so they might do something. We'll see. But one thing's for sure, I'm making sure they get enough water this time. Stanley Laddie, what's going on? Hutch, what's going on, brother? Roots, Virginia Roots is in the house. Boo back at you, sweetheart. Learn me something. Teach. I hear you, Hutch. Yapit Methuselah, what's going on? Chrissy Drill, welcome, welcome. Brian Lloyd, hello, welcome. Yeah, so we'll wait for get a few more people in here. Hopefully, I was over hanging out with Prepper Stedding for his birthday bash. Man, there's something wrong with that dude. I'm here to tell you. For real, I swear to God, I logged on and there's 8 people on the panel and 6 of them have their pictures up. 2 are their little icons or whatever. And I hear Prepper Stedding talking, but I don't see him on the panel. And the 2 icons, I don't see them moving. You know, when you talk, you got that little bubble that kind of goes along with your voice. And I'm like, how in the hell is this guy live and talking, but he's not on the camera? It literally took me about 10 minutes to figure out that he was the person up in the top left corner and he's dressed up like a girl, like hair, makeup, dress, the whole 9 yards. Tripped me out, straight blew my mind. Yeah, he's lost it. He has completely lost it. I'm not sure what he identifies as right now, but it's hilarious. Yes, I was over there hanging out with him for a while. It was fun. He got quite a few people over there. So, yeah, but tonight I had scheduled it at 9, and then I saw Native was going live at 10 with Homestead Oz, and I really want to catch that show. Hey, what's going on, Native? I just dropped your name. Yeah, Native's going live at 10 with Homestead Oz, and I really want to catch that stream. So instead of going live at 9, I bumped it up to go at 8 to give us a couple hours, maybe take a break in between so we can all go over there and catch Native Voice and Homestead Oz, because yeah, I'm really interested in hearing what they got to say about Australia, because I don't know if y'all been paying attention, but they are going off in Australia. Australians are acting like Americans ought to be acting, and they are tearing stuff up. I'm loving it. Let's see who else we got in here. Who did I miss? Michigan Outpost, what's going on? Prepper Nerd, hey brother. Tamara Reynolds, hello. Nick, what's going on, Nick? Let's see who else we got here. I already said hey to Stanley and Virginia. Wild Nesting, what's going on? Welcome, welcome. Klingon, what's going on? We got the Supermod in the house. Y'all better watch it. Laura, hello. And of course, Native, what's going on, brother? Mad Max, what's going on? Yeah, so Nick L, what's happening? Oh yeah, I miss Florida a little bit, not too much. Not this time of year, man. I mean, it's hot enough up here in North Carolina. I remember the last 10 years I spent in Florida, man. It's yeah, it's a little too much for me. But so for the hey Gene, what's going on? So for the last week or so, everything's been Afghanistan, 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 and I posted a couple of rambles about Afghanistan, when I'm doing my thing riding down the street. And it's got some pretty good feedback. I've had a couple of negative things, and that's okay. I can't expect everyone to agree with my point of view and the way I think about things, and that's understandable. I completely understand that. But there's a difference in not agreeing and just not understanding the topic. Okay. As simple as that. I mean, you can pretend to speak Chinese all you want to, but if you don't know what you're saying, you just sound stupid. That's pretty much my point on that. And we all know who I was talking about. Leslie, what's going on? But so the rants were going pretty good. and I finally got enrolled in school. So I've been, I have to drive, you know, about 45 minutes or so each way just to get to campus to go to class, 4 days a week, plus getting the classes in and getting registered and getting the books and figuring out what's what, who's who, and where everything is. I didn't have any time this week to really set up any guests for the Prepper Summit. So tonight I figured we just go with open panel, and I'll bring as many people up as want to come up and talk, and we can talk the topic, which I'm pretty sure the topic's pretty much gonna gonna always circle back to Afghanistan, because that seems to be the hot point in everybody's mind right now, which is fine with me. I'll talk about it. Ain't no big deal. I said I don't like to go religious and I don't like to go political. This ain't political and this ain't religious. This is factual. This is this is everyday thing that we're dealing with. Michigan Outpost says, Ghost, what are you going to be studying? Michigan, I'm finishing up my degree in middle grades science education. I'm going to be a science teacher. I was completely finished with it in Florida. All I had to do was one more semester of internship, and then the pandemic hit us, and the school shut down, and I was ready to move. So I made a educated decision to go ahead and bug out and get to where I'm at now. Problem is now I have to take some additional classes. Which is fine. I like learning stuff. It's cool. Some of the classes are really cool. I'm taking physics, human biology, which I've already taken, chemistry, and like 15 different biologies, the whole 9 yards. So it's just some additional classes, probably an additional, 2 semesters, maybe even an entire year in school, which I didn't really plan on. But you know what? You bob and weave and you play the cards you're dealt. It is what it is. So it's liberal arts and expressive dance. That's pretty good, Hutch. That's actually, I might need you to tutor me in that class. I heard you did really, really well. So I think you made the dean's list on the dance class. So and then the liberal arts just kind of comes natural to you. It's obvious. So yeah, I'll definitely reach out to you for some tutoring on that stuff. Hope you don't charge too much. Starbucks, maybe a little scrunchie for your man bun, maybe some new flip flops or something, and we'll call it a day. But other than that, it is what it is. Dusty data. Yeah, physics. Yeah, good stuff. Good Star Trek kind of stuff. But that's actually the only avenue of science that I hadn't already taken was physics, because I went the biology route in Florida, and the biology route in Florida does not require physics. It's all the biologies, chemistry, earth science, environmental science, horticulture, geology, oceanography, studying the stars. I've done all that already. So with doing physics, I'll be completely super well rounded. And according to my counselor here, he's like, dude, for the science degree, middle grades, you've got all the stuff that we don't even require. You're like overqualified. So that'll come in handy. It is what it is. I mean, what are you going to do? And then today or this morning when I made my ramble, I went to Lowe's and went ahead and got some wood. I was needing some plywood, and I was needing a couple additional 2x4s to finish up the shelving in the basement. And I'm actually doing a video on the shelf build. And everybody knows before, thank you, Brian. Everybody knows before, I was waiting on doing anything out of wood because of the prices. And today I went ahead and pulled the trigger. I got 4 sheets of plywood and a couple of 2x4s for like $74, which in my opinion was awesome compared to the price. I mean, it would have cost me $250, a couple of months ago. So I went ahead and pulled the trigger on that, and I went ahead and priced out the 4x4 treated 4x4s and the lumber to do the rabbitry, the pole barn for the rabbitry. So that'll be my next project after I get kind of dialed in with school and everything else. I mean, right now the rabbits are doing fine. I got them under tarps. They're loving it. They love the breeze. Like I said, today it was like 100 and something degrees with the heat index. I put the ice bottles in the cooling towers, and they did perfectly fine. Zaz already built her nest again. She's not due for, I think, 4, maybe 5 days. She's already built another condo as a nest. I mean, she's awesome. Other than that, getting my sleep schedule dialed in, because now I'm having to get out of bed at 6 o'clock every morning and running all day and still trying to stay up late at night to chat with you guys is a kind of a stretch. And I'm an old man, so I get that afternoon nap in there when I can. It seems to help out a lot. So let me see what we got going on here, and I will I'm flipping over to YouTube here real quick, And let me go ahead and post the link at the top for this channel or for this show. And that way you guys can just click on it when you want to come on up. And I just learned how to do this last week, by the way. So just kind of bear with me. Took forever to figure this out. And we will get this thing started and hopefully have us a fun little show. Man, is everybody else's internet going as slow as mine is? I mean, this thing is just slow, like crazy slow. All right, there we go. Hang on 1 second. Copy. Paste. Enter. Pin the message. There we go. That should have pinned it up top, but there it is in the chat. If anybody wants to come up and join me, like I said, I got room for plenty of people. I don't want to go more than 4 or 5 at a time, just so that way we're not stepping on each other's toes and trying to talk over each other, because then the message just kind of gets lost in translation. But if anybody wants to come on up here and kick this thing off, we will kick it on off. Mad Max, what's going on? Dusty Data. Arkansas, whoop ass. What's going on, brother? Yeah, so it was a good day. Did a little bit of work in the garden. Gemma, what's going on, Gemma? Yeah, that is the show, not the SY. I'm not sure what that means, Virginia. Did a little work in the garden. I got rid of one of the squash plants. I'm going to yank the other 2 out and repurpose those buckets. I've got another banana pepper I want to get in the dirt, and I'm going to try some of this lettuce. I'm going to do it I was going to do it in the dirt, but I think I'm going to go ahead and build me a hydroponic system in the basement and go ahead and get the lights strung up and get the PVC pipe and the pump and go ahead and do a, oh, I pinned the show, not the StreamYard. Oh, crap. Okay. StreamYard. All right. So I take the StreamYard link and then I go to my YouTube channel and post it, right? How does that work? Like, can you legit just click on the link that I post that I pinned and come up here, or do I need to post the show link? I don't understand that. Okay, got you. So hang on, I'll post this one then. So let's get rid of this. Remove. Y'all bear with me. I'm figuring this stuff out slowly but surely. Okay. See if that one works. Hutch. Boomers? Yeah, I'm a boomer, all right. Vietnam era boomer. Bulldog, what's going on, brother? Sherry Leach, hello. Gemma. Hutch, come on up here, Hutch. I dropped the link. I know you want to come up. Roots, it's Saturday night. I know we're not canon, but come on up. I did copy and paste StreamYard. I pinned it to the link and then I just dropped it in here just now. Right there. Somebody click on so I know if it's working or not. Don't worry, Hutch. I didn't monetize this one, so you can drop a cuss word every now and then. Because I'm pretty sure I'm going to accidentally slip up and do it if somebody pushes my buttons on Afghanistan. That's for sure. How is it a YouTube link? I'm looking at StreamYard right here, right now. It says StreamYard. I'm going to copy it right now. Copy. And I'm going to paste it right here like I always do. StreamYard. Did that not? That's not what came up a while ago? That's weird. Damn, it sure didn't. I wonder why. Huh. All right, there's the StreamYard link. Now I'll let me go back to YouTube and get that correct. All right. paste, enter, and I'm wanting to unpin that message, and let's replace the pin message. Okay, there. Now it says StreamYard link. So hopefully that works. Yep, there it is, StreamYard. Green Thumb Prepper, what's going on? Mark, what's happening, buddy? All right, who's coming up? I know somebody wants to hang out with me and ask me questions. Otherwise, I'll just go back over there and watch Prepper Steady make an ass out of himself wearing a dress in the barn. It's hilarious. Patrice, what's going on? Yeah, so I'll go ahead and just start it off. You know, the whole Afghanistan thing and my rambles. Some people agreed, some didn't. It's your personal opinion. The whole gist of the story, it's not what the hell just happened. It's not that the fact that we're leaving, you know, equipment, or actually we aren't. Equipment was left and things are going on over there with American equipment and this, that, and the other. That's not the point. The point is the way the media is spinning it, the way they're taking this little bit of tidbit and they're turning it into this almighty just disaster. The way they're taking the simple fact that a supposedly intelligent person decides to hang on to the outside of a C-17 Globemaster, and he's going to hang on for 10,000 miles while it makes a transatlantic flight back to the United States is just idiotic. I mean, what did you think was going to happen? I mean, it's not like there was any suspense. I mean, you see a guy hang on to the side of an airplane. Yep, he's going to fall. We know that's going to happen. You know, that's one of those Darwin Awards. Okay, I don't know if they know who Darwin is over in Afghanistan, but I mean, these Darwin Awards, they're worldwide. You don't hang on to the outside of an airplane. That's just stupid. I would dodge freedom seeds all day long before I'd hang on to the side of an airplane, and I'll probably win that battle. But you know, the way the media has thrown their slant on it, you know, it's just, that's the part that gets me, not the politics of it, not the failure of the administration. It's the way the media is spinning it and the way the public is eating it up. What's up, Dusty?
What's up, man? I thought you were going to talk about it. It's crazy with the way I enjoy the media of it though, because it is a lot of work. They're putting a lot of work into this stuff, man.
They're reaching back. I mean, today they got it. There was a clip on there from from June of the Taliban executing 22 Afghani commandos. Okay, let me go ahead and break that down to you. Number one, they weren't Afghani commandos. Number two, surrendering to the Taliban is like surrendering to a Japanese soldier in World War II. What's the point? You're going to get shot in the head. You're going to get shot.
Watching that.
I mean, it's not like it's not like there was ever a happy outcome going to happen there. All right. They surrendered and they were brutal. Yeah, that's what they do. Okay. You know, why are you shocked? It's like the dude fell off the plane. Why are you shocked? That's what they do. It's a war. You surrender to the Taliban, one of two things are going to happen. You're going to get shot and nobody's going to know about it, or you're going to get shot and it's going to be fed on the internet. You know, your head's coming off or you're eating bullets, one or the other. That's just what they do. Roots, what's going on, Virginia?
Hey, boys.
Hey there.
Howdy. Yeah,
howdy.
I hear you, Hutch, but they were wearing camo. Sounds like commandos to me. If you're holding the name Commando as your job title, the last thing you're going to consider doing is surrendering. If you still got ammo, and even if you don't, you're still not going to do that. I mean, it's
maybe it was a last minute promotion.
Yeah, maybe they need to put on underwear.
Well, I mean, it's like the American people are so, and I don't want to use the word stupid, but it fits, so I'm going to use it. Are so stupid to watch a video of a guy walking through the airfield with these outdoor shelves, like you're at Home Depot picking out lumber on the outdoor area. You know, it's got like a little tin roof on it, but it's completely wide open. And there's a few pieces of body armor and a few Kevlars, and there's some Kalashnikovs, and there's some M4s sitting there. Not many. half a dozen of each, maybe 10 of each or a dozen of each. Like, that's the American Arms Depot. No, Jagoff, that is not. An American arms room, number one, is under lock and key 24/7. If there's not somebody physically in the room with it, there's somebody, at least one person, physically outside of the room with it. Okay, number one. Number two, an American. Look, go look at a video like today's videos of the soldiers getting on the C-17s flying over there, 82nd Airborne and the Marines. Okay, all that stuff they're carrying onto the plane with them, they're going to carry off the plane with them when they come back. That's all their issued gear. That's their TA-50, including their weapon. Okay, it doesn't leave the only way you leave a war zone without your weapon in your hand, there's three ways that can happen that I know of. The first way is if you're in handcuffs and you're physically under arrest for something. Number two is if you're on a stretcher and you're in a medevac and you're being medevaced somewhere, but somebody else has secured your weapon. Somebody else is responsible for it then. And number three is if you're underneath a flag. You know what I mean? That's the only three ways you leave a war zone without your weapon in your gear. All right, period. And for a commanding officer, for somebody to think that a commanding officer is going to issue an order, guys, stack arms, drop your Kevlars, drop your body armors, get on the planes, we're flying home. It doesn't work that way. Number one, it's an illegitimate order. Not a commander worth his salt would ever give that order in a combat area, number one. And number two, the NCOs, the senior NCOs below him are going to say, sir, I'm sorry, we can't do that. It's just not going to happen. Yeah, they can tell them to get on the plane, but they're carrying all their stuff with them, and they did. You notice there's no videos of them hopping on the plane with all their gear, by the way.
Right.
It's just he said, she said. Oh, the Americans left all the gear. No, we didn't. That stuff, there was transactions. Those vehicles were sold. Those vehicles were given. Those vehicles ran through civilian contractors. That money was paid for every single piece of that equipment. There was a transaction. That equipment that you saw on the video at the airfield of the rifles sitting on the shelves with the body armor and the helmets, I can tell you, not factually, but I would put money on it. I can tell you exactly what that is. That's the entry point to the base, okay? That's where the Afghan National Security Force and the Afghan security guards that guard the airfield, that's right by the gate where they come into the airfield, and then they pick up their weapons. They get their weapon, their Kevlar, and their body armor, and they go to work for that duty day. They're on the airfield providing security, and when they leave, that stuff gets turned in. The next shift comes in, they draw a weapon, they draw a helmet, they draw body armor. That's why it's there out in the open, because it's being used continually. Okay, it's not like, that's not an arms room. And the other pictures where it showed like a room full of weapons just sitting there in a room. All right, number one, who says they work? All right, the firing pins may have been removed. The entire bolt carrier group probably was removed. All right. Now, can you get another bolt carrier and put it in an M4, an M16, A2 and make it work? Probably. Is it safe? No. Those things are made to a certain tolerance. So no, they're not stamped like an AK-47 where you can switch parts out left and right and it's going to rock and roll all day long. An M4 and an M16 is a very finicky machine. Those things are made to a certain tolerance. And lots of times, once you put a weapon together and you run, a few magazines through it and you action that weapon, microscopic grooves get formed in these pieces, just like the parts of an engine. You don't just take apart a 350 and take the pistons out of one engine and put them into another engine. All right. Once they're seated, once they've been operated in that machine and heated up and they've gone through these cycles, they get mated to that part. So now, can you switch them out? Yeah. Will they work? Probably so. Is it safe? No, it's not. Those weapons were bought and paid for. It's not like the military just left a whole bunch of stuff on the airfield. No, it's military quality, military issued stuff, but it was bought and paid for and given to the Iraqi soldiers, purchased by the Iraqi National Defense Ministry, or left by civilian contractors. But here's the thing, people, we left all kind of crap in Iraq. Right? Every war that's been fought anywhere, both sides have left stuff on the battlefield by hook or by crook, accidentally or on purpose. It happens. It's called war. If things were organized and there was somebody out there inventorying every bullet, you wouldn't get anything accomplished. Okay. My point is the media is taking this thing and just blowing it up. Oh, they've got helicopters and they've got planes. All right, look, I can take a well-armed fire team, maybe a squad of Marines, and I can take over where is it where the spaceships launch? Cape Canaveral. I can literally invade Canaveral and take it over and get my hands on a space shuttle. Do you guys legitimately think I'm going to be able to get into orbit? No. I can go out and buy a G5 tomorrow if I have the money. I can't fly it. All right. So, you know, it's
Were you there? You said you were there?
Where?
In Afghanistan.
I was in Iraq.
Yeah.
Oh, Iraq.
Yeah.
Yeah. My thing about the whole thing is that them poor people were convinced that we were going to leave this stuff behind, train them to use it, and leave all this stuff for them to use.
Right.
And it happens like that, but they weren't trained to repair it, have an industry to replenish any parts.
Exactly.
To do
that's what I was telling everybody. I mean, are you mad at the Ford Motor Company for having Ford pickup trucks over there in the desert being used against us? Are you mad at the Toyota Motor Company for supplying the Forerunners that the Taliban uses to shoot at us? I mean, are we going to go to war with Japan tomorrow because they make Toyota trucks? No. I mean, and they've got Humvees. Do you realize how hard it is to maintain a Hummer?
Mm-hmm.
It is one of that thing. Like if you own a military version Humvee, you either need to be a certified diesel mechanic, or you need to have a really good friend that's a certified diesel mechanic, or you had to have deep pockets, or you can keep that thing operational because it's a very finicky machine. Now,
even the H2 and H3 are.
Yeah, there's a reason why they choose those Toyota pickup trucks, because they drive for 500,000 miles with a hole in the oil pan and no radiator. Yeah.
Yep.
I would take the Toyota truck, not the Hummer. You know what I mean?
I've got a Toyota truck that I swear by. It's held together with oil and rust, and it will not die. It's got 300,000 on it now. I mean,
don't wash it.
I won't.
What's going on, Max? Welcome to the show. What you got for us?
What's up, guys? My internet's kind of slow. I'm probably choppy. I can't hear y'all very good.
I cannot hear you, brother. I couldn't hear anything you said, brother. Can anybody else?
Not really. Max, if you turn off the camera part and just leave the microphone, it might help with your audio a little bit. If you just mute mic, turn off the camera side, but leave your microphone on, it might come through stronger. Yeah, and we might be able to hear you. We can try that. At least.
Is that better?
That's good.
Is that better?
Yep. Just get a little closer to your mic, maybe. You're clear, but you're a little bit low. Hi, Joyful.
Hi.
Yeah, but that's the only thing. Them poor people, man, they had their hopes, and I've seen this before on the Indian reservations. It's the same mentality. You bring in all this equipment, and then when they leave out, then they leave a lot of the broken equipment behind. Yeah. I mean, that's right there. We're giving them technology, but they're not catching on that they could have been producing this themselves and started a manufacturer, build up an economy. They had 20 years to do this stuff, and we were going to pull out anyway, maybe prematurely now, but you can't stop it now. The decision's made.
Yeah. What's going on, Ginger Ninja? Well, another thing a lot of people miss out on too. All right. War is a business. All right. Mm-hmm. The military industrial machine is a real thing. I know you people have heard the term before. It is a real functioning part of the United States government. It is a huge part of the United States government. And just to break it down for you real quick, a little bit on how it works. The military industrial complex, these guys get massive contracts to do military stuff in place of U.S. soldiers. It's a liability issue that releases the government from a lot of things because they can hold the companies responsible for it. But what it also is it gives them autonomy to do stuff that they shouldn't do. Number one. Number two, they get huge contracts that are 10 times above what they should be paid to do things. They get furnished with these weapons, they get furnished with these vehicles, they get furnished with all this stuff. And those guys don't care about those vehicles. They will leave them in country. They don't care. And the way the United States military works, all right. If I was in charge of this entire operation and I'm looking at bringing home the troops and bringing home the equipment, and it's going to cost me $50 million to ship home all these banged up Hummers that have been in service for 2 or 3 years that having to be maintained. Used. If I'm going to spend $50 million on 500 used Hummers to bring home, when I can spend $40 million and get brand spanking new ones and put the other $10 million in my pocket, I'm leaving the old ones where they sit. I mean, it's monetarily, it's not worth it. They're spending all this money to bring it home when they just get to get new stuff. And that's why the military budget gets jacked up, because the military just writes that off. It's like at the end of the fiscal year in October, I believe it is in the U.S. Army, at the end of the fiscal year, when I was still in the service, if we were at home station, we would go to the field for a week, and we would literally stay on the firing range for a week. And all we would do was shoot, not being graded, not recorded. I mean, we were just burning up as much ammo as we possibly could, because what you don't shoot up, they would take out and bury, and the engineers would dynamite it, because what you don't use gets subtracted from the military budget for that following year. So if your unit was issued 50 million rounds of ammo and you only used half of it, well, the following year you're only getting 50 million rounds, because apparently that's all you need. You know, that military industrial machine works that same way overseas. Why spend money to bring home a banged up truck when you just get a new one? It's cheaper to buy it brand new here in the States than it is to pay to have it shipped all the way back.
How long we've been using Hummers in service? It's got to be since the 80s, right?
1984, I believe they entered service in 84. Yeah. It's 84, 85. I know they were using 84, 85. They entered service. They've been used for a while. And don't get me wrong, I love my Hummers, man. I love them. I mean, they saved my life more than once, legit, in Iraq. But they're a finicky bitch, man. You gotta know you gotta know what you're doing if you're gonna own a Hummer, or you have to have the money to pay somebody to do it. There's nothing easy about, you know. If I had a U.S. military Hummer, I'd love to have one. But I would have to do one of two things. I would have to take a class on diesels and get really good at repairing that truck, or I would yank that drivetrain out and I'd put me a 350 small block in there and I'd call it a day.
Hi, Ginger. Also, Stanley Laddie, that vehicle will never die. You'll get at least another 20 years out of a Camry. Those things, they held the record for a while for miles.
Not a Civic, but it's a Honda something. One of the cars they don't make anymore. It's on the dealership floor at a Honda dealership somewhere, and it's got over 1 million miles on it, with the original engine and the original transmission. Everything in it's all original.
Holy crap.
Over 1 million miles.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It goes to the point, though, of knowing how to work on stuff. You're talking about, you know, why would we bring things home that it's cost far more than to just redo it at home. And I think people should think of that with their own items as well. Learn how to work on your own car, change your own freaking oil, know how to handle the tires, just the basic stuff. All of your filters, your air filter, your radiator, I've had to change in mine. I've had to change starters. And there are things that are pretty easy to get to that any of us can figure out, you know, and get to know your Buck dude, no doubt. Get to know your own things. Also, ask any Persian Gulf vet how much we left there in the 90s. This is not new. This is not a new memo here, you know.
It happens every time a massive military force gets deployed. All right. Something else too. A lot of the vehicles that are used overseas are staged somewhere else. It's like if I was shipping out from here tomorrow, and I see you, Bug dude. I see you. That's a good one. If I was shipping out to Iraq tomorrow, and I had to, what's like right now, the DRF deployment ready force for the 82nd Airborne is in the air, probably boots on the ground by now, headed over there. Okay. Now they're probably not loading up any vehicles. Why? Because there are vehicles there. We already know that. But here's the thing: there are vehicles close. There are vehicles in country. There are vehicles in Kuwait. There are vehicles in Iraq that we can get to. There are plenty of vehicles staged in Germany. There are different airfields. The United States military has stashes of equipment, everything you could possibly think of, stashed at places like Diego Garcia and different bases all over the world where the equipment meets the soldiers when they get there instead of the soldiers having to bring the equipment with them. And I'm talking about the heavy equipment. I'm talking about tanks, Hummers, vehicles like that. And when a unit gets in country, like say Afghanistan for the last 20 years, now your initial delivery of vehicles and everything that come into country with the soldiers, there are always new vehicles coming into country because some vehicles get destroyed. They're no longer serviceable. They get retired, pulled from stock, and then a new one takes its place. Now, say my year tour of duty is up over there, and say I have a Hummer, for my squad, or say I'm using Abrams tanks or whatever it is. When my year's up, I don't load all my equipment up and bring it home. The initial force of a unit, like when a unit deploys, they don't all go at once. You have your first, I can't remember what it's called, but there's an initial deployment of people, probably anywhere from a few dozen to a couple of hundred people that show up, and they take care of the logistics part. They take care of the paperwork. All that equipment that's there on the ground, the vehicles, the heavy equipment, and the heavy guns are signed over. Not all of them, but most of them are signed over to the unit that's taking your place. So the vehicle that I'm getting in when I got to Iraq isn't my vehicle that I'm used to here in the States. It's the vehicle that the guy before me was driving in a different unit that's been signed over to me. Those vehicles belong to that theater of operation right now. They don't belong to the unit, and they just get passed on from unit to unit. When the vehicle gets wore out, they get issued a new one, and it just gets passed on and on and on. Because it's just simply is cheaper that way. I mean, could you imagine how much it would cost? How many plane loads and ship loads that it would take to bring all those tanks and all that equipment for every single deployment? You're talking billions and billions of dollars. Getting people over there is expensive. Getting the equipment is through the roof. I mean, that price tag is insane.
What's amazing is the prepper community isn't looking at and pulling out. Did you notice what them people were carrying that were getting on that plane? One suitcase.
Yeah. Here's the funny thing. It's sad that people lost their lives over there. It really is. And it's sad that people are still losing their lives right now over there. But here's the thing, people. They've been losing their lives every single day over there. For the last 20 years when we were in country, the Taliban was still there. They didn't fly into the airport to take over. They were already there. The troops that we were training, the police that we were training, all they did was pick up a different weapon and change their uniform.
Hey, Jeff.
Bunch of hillbillies, man. That's their town. It'd be like invading the town you live in right now, and there was already occupants there that were rabble rousers. You don't think they'd come in and try to support just to fit in?
Exactly.
And the rest of them that are really high profile went off into the mountains to hide, just like our hillbillies would.
Yeah. I mean, here's
awesome terrain, if I might note.
Yeah, they've got a whole bunch of weapons, this and that and the other. But here's the thing: if they don't have the ammunition that goes in it, and I'll bring another thing to you, and it was especially true in Iraq, and it's probably true in Afghanistan as well, because that's some pretty tough terrain. If I have my choice between an M4 or a Kalashnikov, I'm taking the AK all day long. There's a fraction of the amount of maintenance that's going to be needed, that's going to be required for that weapon to function versus an M4. If you don't have spare parts for an M4, if you don't have the cleaning kit, if you don't have the graphite and the oil and all the things that you need, an M4 is a very, very finicky weapon. It's good and it's reliable if you know what you're doing and you take care of that weapon. But if you want something that you can drive nails with and just beat up, take it apart, throw it in the dirt, put it back together without cleaning it off, just blow it off and rock and roll a magazine through it, it's an AK all day long. So from a purely military standpoint, and you got to understand too, for their entire lives, that's what they've been fighting with is AKs. The last thing you want to do as an invading force is have to stop your invasion and then retrain all your troops on how to use this brand new American equipment that we just stole, that we're going to run out of ammunition for within the first 90 days. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, logistically, it's stupid to even assume that.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of the contractors on there on videos. They're sporting the AK.
Absolutely, that's what I would sport if I had the option. You know, I mean, it is what it is. It works. If you know you're going to get into a firefight, if you've got 30 seconds to grab a weapon and you have to choose between an M4 and an AK-47 that you've never fired before, you're grabbing the AK because you know it's going to work. Like legit, you know it's going to work.
Now, that's a Russian weapon?
It was originally designed in Russia, but it's made all over the country. There are Chinese versions. I mean, it's made in several different countries, and the reason being is it's very simple and it's very reliable. It's stamped. I mean, it's stamped metal. I mean, it comes out of a press. It's just heavy press, and they just stamp the pieces together. And all the pieces are interchangeable with other weapons. I mean, you can take barrel from one. I mean, it's because the tolerances aren't. I mean, the thing rattles the whole weapon. You can grab the barrel and the pistol grip, and it feels like a toy. It feels like it's unsafe, but the thing works. I mean, it is so reliable. It's an awesome piece of machinery.
I watched an Asian girl tear one apart, and the whole thing has all the tools on it.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That little lever-looking thing is actually like a wrench and
Allen wrench
and all kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're very, very user-friendly. They're very reliable, and they take a beating. I mean, when I first got to Fort Drum and we were training on the AK-47s and the AK-74s, because I've trained on all those weapons. I'm familiar with them. Like we were in the field, and my platoon sergeant took his AK-47 apart, threw it in a mud hole, like completely covered in mud, left it all night long. It got down to freezing. The next morning, it was still in the probably high 20s, low 30s. He took the buttstock of somebody else's weapon, busted the ice over the top of the mud hole, dug in there, pulled all the pieces of his AK out. He did not use a rag at all, just his hand, brushed it off, slung as much dirt off as he could, put it together, put a magazine through it, and it fired nonstop. Didn't miss a beat. I mean, those things are brutal. If you did that to an M4, it would, you're going to be all day getting it clean before you even think about firing it.
Hi, Stephanie.
Do you think that's our downfall, or is that more? Is that I would think that's better in a not a home field advantage.
Yeah,
you know, 'cause you're bringing in supplies that they can't use, but you can use theirs all day long and collect as you go along all day long the ammo and everything.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing too. A lot of people are upset that there's, American M4s laying on the ground or whatever. So what? It's not like there's a shortage of weapons in Afghanistan, okay? I mean, weapons over there, I mean, they're everywhere. They're dirt cheap. I mean, like they're literally everywhere. You think we got a lot of guns in the United States of America? Please. There are guns everywhere. So there's not a shortage of weapons. So it's not like finding a few M4s in an abandoned building at the airfield in Kabul is going to change the course of the war. It's going to have absolutely zero effect. And like I made my video today, if Billy Bob got shot by an American-made M4 while he was over there in Afghanistan, that's the story on the news. And it's a horseshit story. The story needs to be Billy Bob got shot, not by what, whether it's an AK-47, an M4, a slingshot, or a bow and arrow. The issue of the story, the root of the problem is Billy Bob got shot. That's what he's worried about.
I was watching. Guys.
Yeah, I did too. And Roaming did a live this morning. It was a very good live, and he showed an article in which Russian seeds are going to be outlawed or impossible to get here. And so I was just wondering how much of an impact. I mean, you're saying they're made there, but they're made in a lot of places. And I'm not sure how popular that is here. It's just, I think that's how the proverbial they are going to get to us is the seeds, the parts, the oil, the mechanism, that kind of stuff. That might be the approach. And the news is fighting.
Yeah, that's legitimately, that's the only approach they could literally take would be just do away with the seeds. Yeah, you can legally own a weapon. You can hang it on your wall, and now it's art if you can't get any seeds for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like from a legitimate government standpoint, and if you knew you couldn't outlaw the weapons, just outlaw the seeds.
Well, do you think they're trying to stockpile them, or do you think it's legitimately to get to our 2A?
No, I think they just want to. Honestly, it's probably just a test drive.
Mm.
Do it with the if they can do it with the 7.62x39, then they can do it with something else.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something a lot of people miss too when it comes to government, how laws work. You know, when they're talking about the Second Amendment, you know, anything they do to the Second Amendment is a loss to the entire amendment. They don't have to change the entire thing. All they have to do is add something to it. If you add something to it, then you set a precedent that it can be changed and altered at any time after that, and you don't need permission. You know what I mean? If they can, like, if they can slightly change it just a little bit where it goes on paper that it's been altered, then it's, I mean, and it depends on the Supreme Court. I mean, their sole job, their only reason for having a job for their entire life and getting rich doing nothing is to interpret the Constitution. And here's my problem with that. There's no reason to interpret the Constitution. It's written in fucking English. Okay. I don't need an interpreter. It's written in English. I can understand it. I don't need to interpret. Your version of interpret means, what do you think it means? I don't care what you think it means, Judge. I can read it. I know
it's
what
obvious why they say it, though, because it's self-preservation. I mean, that's the whole premise of it, was to be able to eliminate the issue. And if there is an issue, they're under self-preservation at this point.
Yeah, Rip Curl's got a good point. Him and I talked about this today. The issue isn't the weapons and the Hummers and things like that. The issue is the drones, the heavy armor, the artillery, the MRAPs, especially the MRAPs. You know, the heavy artillery, the night vision, the high-tech stuff like that. Now, that's where it can really affect their ability to reach out and touch different things. My only defense on that is, you know, from what I've seen, most of the drones were the recon stuff. They weren't the armored. They weren't, you know, they weren't unmanned combat vehicles. They were mostly recon stuff. The heavy armor and the artillery and stuff. Again, it goes back to they've got to have the seeds to go in them. The MRAPs and things like that in the vehicles, if they've got the correct fuel and they can keep them running, yeah, that I mean, you can do a lot of damage with an MRAP. You know, the thermal night, honestly, out of everything they've gotten a hold of, the biggest thing that's going to really enable them to be more effective without changing their tactics and having to retrain is the night vision. That's going to give them the ability to own the night. And that's been our number one deal for a long, long time. If you can operate effectively at night, yeah, and your opponent can't, then you've got a serious advantage. And the newer body armor is a big deal. But you know, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. I mean, for the last 20 years, we've been pumping that economy full of billions and billions of dollars, so they can legitimately reach out and buy any of this stuff that they want. You know, finding some of it used, you know, in an abandoned airfield or whatever. I mean, same thing happened in Iraq. The same thing happens in Bosnia. The same thing happened in Somalia, Grenada. The same thing probably happened in Panama as well. I mean, stuff gets left behind. It is what it is.
Now, what would you say the size of that country is? It's about the size of Texas, ain't it?
What, Afghanistan?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's massive, man. It's easy the size of Texas, I would think. It's pretty big. I pinned the link up there if anybody wants to come up. Hutch, anybody else want to come up here? Come on up. It's an open forum. Come on up, ask questions, drop opinions, make statements. Just keep your clothes on.
Oh, come on. Yeah, I'm looking at my atlas behind me. Afghanistan is pretty much the size of Texas. What's kind of concerning to me is that it's right in the center. To its north is Mother R. To its right is large Asian nation. To its left is, I want to say, Iran, or Pakistan. I don't know, but if you look at the what it's right in the center of, it's a very strategic thing to tug of war.
It's strategic, and it's probably one of the hardest places to navigate and operate on the planet. Like literally, it would probably be easier for you to assault Mount Everest than to conquer Afghanistan, because logistically you don't have enough people to conquer and hold anything, because the mountainous terrain is brutal. I mean, if you've never tried to function at altitude with a load, and my combat load, and I was in the 10th Mountain Division. That's what we specialized in, was the high altitude mountain stuff. I mean, my combat load, what I carried on my back was over 100 pounds at all times. Now you imagine climbing, going up a mile in elevation. It ain't no joke, man. It ain't no joke. I mean, then they use donkeys. I mean, they don't have many, and the mountains up there, that's why, they've got Humvees, they've got yeah, that's fine down in the low ground, where there's roads, but up there in the mountains, that stuff's not going to do you any good at all, because you can't get it there. The big guns, yeah, you can reach out and touch them, but as far as rolling up on some up armored Hummers or MRAPs or stuff like that, not going to happen unless somebody put a road in there. It's just, you can't get there. And there's actually one region of Afghanistan where the Taliban doesn't even mess with the people that live there, because it's so brutal and tough to get to. I can't remember the name of the province, but it's not run or operated by the Taliban, because if you hold that ground, you're good. You legit can't. It's like almost impossible to get overrun. And the people that live there now have been defending it for decades, if not hundreds of years, and they're still good to go. They tell Taliban no thank you, and I mean, there's nothing they can do about it.
Every time you say Taliban, I do not think anything other than Native Americans. The way the cultures are, they were tribal, they had a city, but they've been around that area for thousands of years anyway. That that's
we're responsible for the Taliban. You know that, right?
Yep.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, and Nisi's dad was on with Prepper Tribe the other night, and he broke it down really, really good on how all this started. Back with Russia and with the Mujahideen. They fought for the land, they took it, they ain't giving it back. And I've met a few of the Mujahideen, and those are some bad dudes, brother. I mean, and you have to understand the culture of people. Like even with my limited experience of dealing with them in Iraq, bro, there were times, and I was detailed into Tikrit, Iraq. I've been in Saddam Hussein's main #1 massive palace. It's an entire mountain. It's huge. I've been in it multiple times. We actually turned his middle school, where he went to school, into a detention facility for the all the insurgents that we got in the Fallujah uprising. And I'm here to tell you, there would be days where I'm talking to Iraqis that are inside the wire, inside the prison, that we're paying American money, a lot of it, to build sidewalks and pour concrete and build infrastructure. And there was one guy, I've been talking to him for weeks. Nice dude. I called him English, because he spoke English very, very well. We used him basically as a translator. And anytime you have one that spoke English, we just nicknamed him English. We just yelled English, and he would be like, "Hey, what's up, boss?" And he'd come running. But everybody knew him. He was English. He was a cool dude. And probably 3 weeks later, I see him coming in the gate. This time he's zip tied, and he's coming in with a squad of Marines, and they legit caught him outside the wire, outside the fence, launching mortars. And they caught him with maps. The whole time he's in there working on the FOB, the forward operating base. That's what FOB stands for. The whole time he's there, he's walking off buildings. He had maps of everything labeled, so he knew what his targets were, and he was disseminating them to the rest of the bad guys. I mean, shaking your hand, kissing your butt, holding his hand out to get paid, and then turns around tomorrow and he's taking you out.
Yep.
I mean, that's the same way they do it in Afghanistan. I would bet money on it. And when all this stuff happened with the Taliban, I mean, we spent 20 years training them, 20 years bringing them the best equipment on the planet, 20 years paying them stupid amounts of money, which went straight to the Taliban. So when the Taliban says they're coming, basically the Taliban sent an email and said, "All right, we're taking back over." And everybody said, "Okay." And they just changed uniforms. There's no fight, no nothing. So they can kiss my lily white ass as far as I'm concerned. If they want to hang on to the side of an airplane and think it's going to turn out good for them, yeah, that's another Darwin Award. Have a nice flight. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
telling you, I
them
don't
things,
care.
them are monsters, and they move in the air, dude. That's not a slow moving beast.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. It sucks. And now the government's got, now we're deploying troops back over there. All right, and here's where the gist of this here's where it gets tricky, because now we're sending a few thousand troops back over there. So we're insanely outnumbered. We're in enemy territory that's been unmanned for a few weeks. All right, so, and we're going in to rescue the civilians. Okay, why wasn't this kind of military force, why wasn't it put to use in the country, in our country, say, I don't know, when Katrina ripped a new asshole in the Gulf? Where was that? Where was that, for the American civilians, the few thousand American civilians that died? Where was the mobilization for our country? Why are we nation building other nations when we can't even build our nation? Okay. Why are you going to help your neighbor fix his roof when your roof leaks? I mean, there's a reason when you get on an international flight, the stewardesses tell you if the oxygen mask drop in front of you, put yours on first before you help anybody else. Because if you pass out, you're no good to anybody else. So
Yep.
I mean, and who in the hell, who in their right mind would want the United States of America to come help build their nation? Look at the United States of America. Look what we got going on right now. Look at this country, bro. At least the Taliban can tell the difference between a male and a female. They might not treat the females that good, but at least they know which ones are females. We can't even tell over here. I mean, really, you want America to come build your nation? You've lost your mind, and we can't even do it. Look how many decades we tried to. Well, we tried to do nation building in Vietnam. How'd that work out? Venezuela, how'd that work out? Honduras, Nicaragua, how'd that work out? Panama, how'd that? Come on, man. We can't even build our own nation, and we're going to go teach people how to build. That's just stupid. It's ridiculous. Fix home. Didn't worry about other people. I'm not trying to be mean or cruel towards the Afghan people. I know bad shit's going on over there, but guess what? Bad shit's going on everywhere right now. Right now, bad shit, worse shit than what happened in Afghanistan is happening all over the planet right now. Afghanistan is going to be dialed in. Why? Because China's in charge now. China's going to tell them how to act. Now they're going to make their own flag, their own government. They've already been recognized by China and Russia. So they've got people to answer to right now. They could have been answering us, but no, we had to be nice guys. China's going to come in there and they're going to get a hold of that lithium, and it's going to be like Qatar, but it's going to be in the mountains of Afghanistan when they start mining this stuff. It's ridiculous. And here we are. Oh yeah, we're a nation, but no, we didn't. We built a little bit of infrastructure for them. We basically funded the Taliban for 20 years.
Yep.
20 years. And I don't, the people in the chat, if you don't believe me, let me tell you something. I ran security on convoys. It was either once a month or bi-monthly, where we literally, and I'm telling you as a fact, and none of this stuff is classified or top secret, so I'm going to share it. I was in charge of security for the convoys, where we take a bunch of people with shiny, pieces of metal on their collar with a big old suitcase full of money, and we drive the countryside. We spend several hours going to multiple different villages, handing them money. Every couple of months, we just go hand them stacks of cash. Here's the crazy part. You pull up to this village, and I can't remember the exact definition of what was termed a village, but it had to have a certain amount of huts, houses, or buildings in construction. It had to have a certain amount of families or people living there with children. No specific number of children, but it had to be occupied by family groups. And then you could call it a village. And then that village had its own mayor or governor, whatever you want to call it, the guy that's in charge, okay? And he would come out to the Humvees. He would talk to the people from civil affairs. They would reach into this big bag and they would hand him a stack of cash, tens of thousands of dollars. And he would get a certain amount based on the size of the village. Okay. Once that was done, we did the whole, this and we love you, America, America, America rocks. And then we would get in our trucks and leave. And a couple hours later, on the other side of the mountain, we'd pull into another village. And guess what? You would see the same guy
Hmm.
But this time he wasn't the guy in charge. You would see the governor of the other village would be standing in the background, and one of the pedestrians at the other village was now stepping forward to be the governor, and he's holding his, and all the people, half the people were the same people that were in the other village. All they did was hop on their donkeys and tractors and go across the mountain and meet us at the other village. They were just
Right.
going from hut to hut, holding their hands out, collecting money. I knew it. The people in charge knew it, and we still gave them stacks and stacks of cash.
What were we buying? Silence, cooperation,
No,
information.
we devalued their money. We shut down their economy. So their economy was our economy. The US dollar is the world's reserve currency. It can be used anywhere. So we
Oh,
shoved billions and billions of dollars into the Iraqi economy. Rainy Steps, thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. Yeah.
No,
So
I'm not Leroy. You didn't give me no money. Leroy's in the other village.
I mean, we went from village to village, and there would be the same people in multiple villages collecting stupid amounts of cash.
so how many people were in these villages? A couple hundred, a couple thousand?
No, it was the most. I mean, there were a couple of villages that numbered in the hundreds, but we call those towns. But the villages I'm talking about, I mean, there were some of them with, maybe 8 or 10 huts, and
Oh,
you might see 25, 30 people. Yeah, but it was, I mean, and just just throwing money at them, literally just throwing money. And all that money went straight to the Taliban. All of it, every single penny of it, straight to they were there. We were handing money to Taliban. We knew it. They knew we knew it. It's not like
there's that butthead Aziz, man. He gets a roll of nickels.
Yeah.
it sounds like you're all playing poker, but you can see each other's hands and you keep playing anyway. Like,
yeah, I mean, they knew that we knew they were Taliban, but unless you legit catch them in the act doing something bad, there's nothing you can do about it. The rules of engagement over there were, man, I had friends arrested and go to Leavenworth for breaking the rules of engagement. I mean, you literally had to be shot at and either almost hit or have video footage of it almost hitting you for you to be able to fire back. I mean, it was ridiculous.
really?
It was insane. Like, yeah, like you could watch. It was so bad at one time. Like all right, if you saw somebody in the street placing an IED, take them out. But if you saw somebody in the street just digging a hole, you couldn't do anything to them.
Okay.
If you saw somebody carrying wires out to the hole and laying them down, you couldn't do anything to them. Like until it was legit a complete IED, visually verified by more than one person, which means actionable intel, you could not do anything about it. That's where the wrist came in handy with the ball bearings. We would just discourage them from putting anything in the holes.
Yeah, it's not even war, dude. That's
right.
It was bad. It was your hands were literally tied. For 20 years, all we've done is just fund Al Qaeda. Or excuse me, Taliban. That's why I'm just like, and then I see this stuff going on TV and I'm like, that's all bullshit. None of it's true. Like, I mean, what you're seeing is true. You're looking at it with your eyes. You're seeing it. But it's the context of it. Right? If I'm a Taliban soldier and I want an M4, trust me, I can get an M4. I can get a nice one, completely kitted out, probably better than the stuff our soldiers get. I can get it. I can buy it right now, anywhere in the world. And I got the money to do it. So it's really not a big deal. The only reason they don't all have M4s is because they don't want them. The AK works.
Right. Interesting.
So I mean, when you see the stuff on the news and it gets shoved down your throat, it pisses me off because I'm like, you people have no idea what you're talking about. And it's like the one guy that, gave me the sideways comment that I ranted about today, and my analogy of it to people that don't understand what I'm talking about. It's like, we're all looking out the same window. When I look out the window, I see my yard. I see my hedges. I see my driveway, my mailbox, my car's in my yard. I see the street in front of my house. I see my neighbor across the street. I see his house, his roof, his windows. You know, I see his car. I see the clouds. I see if there's a storm coming. You know, all you're doing is you're looking at the drapes inside your house. I'm looking out the window. You're looking at the window. There's a big difference. That's
Right.
my analogy for people watching mainstream media. You're looking at the window. I'm looking through the window. I'm seeing what's out there. You're just looking at the drapes swinging in front. You have no clue what's going on. None whatsoever.
Well, like I was saying earlier on Hutch's thing, man, I was getting into the Brave New World. They actually had presented a 3-hour movie back in the 80s I was watching today. But the book, I heard it on audio. And the writer was talking to Mike Wallace back in the 60s about television and all this, where it could go and where it could be misused to provoke a response that normally wouldn't be provoked. You know, it is going to be propaganda.
Yeah. I mean,
So
think about it.
we're really doing the psyops propaganda stuff, and we know they're doing it to us.
Yeah. We're 2 weeks away from a very, very important anniversary. We all know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now we just sent just enough troops in country to make for a really, really bad outcome. You follow me?
But if they win, what would that do for their society to think they won?
That's the thing.
Right.
I mean, look, here's 20 years we've been there. All right. And I feel bad for the Afghan people. If you don't like your country, freaking leave. You had 20 years to get ready. You had 20 years. What, did you think that we were going to put another star on the flag and we were going to annex Afghanistan? You're going to be the 51st state. You think we were never going to leave? I mean, you're about as intelligent as the people that were hanging onto the side of that freaking aircraft, that aircraft. I mean, another Darwin Award coming at you. If you don't like it, leave. I mean, it's that simple. If you don't like it, leave. Oh, but now we can't. Taliban's in charge. Well, you had 20 years. I'm sorry for your luck. All right. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, you've got a country full. You outnumber the Taliban probably 10,000 to 1. You were well equipped. You were well trained. You were armed and armored, and you rolled over like a bunch of little sissies. So you get what you get. You know,
no heart there.
You don't like it, fight. You don't like it, fight. Period. It works for everybody else on the planet. If you don't like the way the stuff's going, say no, stand up, and do something about it. Don't wait for somebody else to come in there and save you. I mean, you legit, everybody's looking at it like America, you know, abandoned the Afghan people. No, the Afghan people abandoned the Afghan people.
Exactly.
You know, it's not my responsibility or any other soldier, or any other American's responsibility to come over there and fix your issues. Our roof's leaking. Our roof's leaking bad. You know, I'm sorry.
And we need new floorboards too.
I mean,
Well, what happens when you go to help your neighbor with their roof and all you do is sabotage it? Because that's in a way what we've done. We've done that all over the world under the auspices of humanitarian work and whatever. But I always say follow the money. If you look at the anniversary coming up, you know how much money Halliburton made? Do you know how much money they decided the ratio of losing 3,000 people was enough for the profit that was going to be made for the fallout for that?
I mean,
We're
KBR, Kellogg Brown and Root was one of the big ones in Iraq, and Cheney owned. I think Cheney owned like controlling interest in KBR, and they ran everything, dude. When I say they ran everything, they ran the mess halls, they ran all the food, they were in charge of supplies, they were in charge of logistics, they were in charge of the laundromat, they ran everything in the fobs. Okay, they had one of the most sophisticated black market rings you could imagine. Alcohol is illegal in Iraq. All right, look at me when I'm saying this. I stayed drunk in Iraq. I'm telling you. Yeah, and it's illegal. KBR had a black market that was unreal.
Hugs and kisses.
Hey, what's up, everybody? How are you this evening?
Your soothing voice brings us.
Besides the obvious.
Yeah, you're like a male version of Susanna.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, Klingon, I'll watch.
I don't know. I might want to keep him around, man, to do some of that hypnotic suggestive. You want to watch Byaxo?
I don't know. It just
Tonight,
blows my
tune
mind.
into Dusty Data.
I just wish that, like, I get so frustrated. I know there's going to be, something big is coming down the pipes. That's probably the reason I'm so agitated right now, because I see the way they're moving pieces around the chessboard. And from a military and a strategic standpoint, it makes absolutely no sense. All right, here's the first thing that jumps into mind. We've had a whole week of this Afghan thing going on. I want to know what in the hell's been going on in Washington, D.C. I want to know what kind of laws are being passed, what kind of stuff's been written, because something, I promise you, some shit got changed while we've been distracted.
Yep.
Something big is going on right now. We don't know about it yet, but we will. Something big is going on right now.
I agree. Well, we had that debt ceiling, and we're at that point now where they were going into summer vacation or something a week ago.
If the administration wants to get another year or 2 years or even 10 years out of what we got right now, there's only one way to salvage the economy. And by salvage it, I don't mean fix it. I mean put it on life support and pump its chest and breathe for it for another few years. And that is to go start shooting at people. That is to go start a war. You fire back up the machine and you stimulate the economy. Even though it's super inflated, hyperinflated, you stimulate the economy and you put the country on life support for another few years. And they can legit do that just by starting to shoot at people, by making up some stuff. We've got just enough troops on the ground over there. And don't get me wrong, 82nd Airborne, those are my brothers. Those are some high-speed troops. The 10th Mountain Division is on the ground over there right now. That's my old unit. Some Marines are going over there. There's some Spec Ops guys over there. There's enough people on the ground to put a serious hurt on somebody. The problem is there's not enough people on the ground to legit do damage, but there are just enough people on the ground to make for a really ugly weekend, so to speak, to make for a really good news story. The news, they're building up to it, man. They're building up to it. They're digging up all this stuff that the Taliban's did and how mean they are and all this stuff. And there's no reason to pull the troops out and then turn around and send them back. All right. You shouldn't have left all the Americans there in the first place. I mean, that's like sending all your bouncers home from a bar. Let's send all the bouncers home and not worry about the customers. And then a fight breaks out, and then you got to call all your bouncers. Hey guys, can you come back to the club for a minute? That's the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. I mean, if you're pulling all your military forces out of an active war zone, you don't leave the embassy staffed. Period. I mean,
like they did it on purpose to cause
like the 300 march. They knew they were getting into, but we're not going to war. We're just going for a stroll. It's the same kind of principle. If you leave everybody there and they're going to go through the meat grinder, you're sacrificing those people for a reasonable reason to come back in. Mm-hmm. To save the last remaining few.
Yeah. I mean, I just wish I could get everybody within the sound of my voice to look through the window, not at the curtains. I mean, that's frustrating.
It is all Hollywood staged.
I've seen it. I've seen the way they blow it up and they make it look all bad. I mean, it's like the kid that fell from the airplane. Now it's all over the TV. He was an Afghan footballer. Okay. Afghan footballer means he plays soccer. All right. Let me explain something to you people that don't know that. Everybody in Afghanistan plays soccer. Everybody in Iraq plays soccer. It's like their only sport. They shoot people and they play soccer. That's what they do. Right? But he's an Afghan footballer. He's, this promising young, he was a promising young human being. That's what he was. And he fell off the outside of a damn airplane. And then there was probably a political reason for that. There was some, you can't tell me that anybody on the planet thought it was a good idea to hang on to the outside of an aircraft. I don't. It's ridiculous. That was just stupid.
Yeah.
And I hear people saying, "Oh, that's how scared they were," and I can understand that they're scared. They want to get away from the Taliban, this, that, and the other. If he was so scared, then where was his family? Why wasn't he trying to get his family out? He's an 18, 19-year-old kid. He was born under the rule of us being there. He's never lived under the Taliban. So why is he scared? He doesn't know what the Taliban is. And number three, you got people running down the airstrip, with their cell phones and looking at the cameras, straight smiling and waving, like they're making TikTok videos, running down the airstrip. And
see
then
the other video of where the plane was powering down and you didn't have the group of people, but you still had the people sitting on
I didn't see that one. But what I did see was the plane
quick.
going one direction with the people sitting on the wheel wells, and then it comes back and they're falling off. Man, that fully loaded C-17 that was evacuating the airfield got some serious altitude really, really quick and then turned around and flew back over the landing strip.
Huh.
Back at the guy filming. I mean, it was the same guy filming. So that made no sense to me.
No.
But it's just, I don't know, man.
It's not confusing. We're just the same damn thing as Orwell. It doesn't make sense. It don't make sense, man.
Well,
2 plus 2 does not equal 5.
When all your news organizations are all owned by all the companies that make all the movies and TV, it kind of makes sense.
I mean, why hasn't the military in the U.S. mobilized like this to, I don't know, maybe stop the child trafficking? Why haven't they mobilized to, seal the border? Why didn't they mobilize to save all those people in Katrina?
All the opiate
we can mobilize to go to Afghanistan where nobody. Look, the Afghan people do not want us there. Period.
Well, we want Afghanistan for the opium.
Yeah. All right.
I believe that. I think we get a lot of that out of there, and I've read a few articles about the trade-off in money, and those farms are being shut down, but at the same time, highly funded.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, not to mention all the rare earth elements and everything else there.
I mean, that's why we're not. I mean, that's why they're not waging war in the middle of the poppy fields up north. It's worth money. That's why they're leaving that group alone.
The media is more worried about all the money and equipment and rare earth elements that we're leaving behind than they are about the people that are still stuck over there.
Oh yeah, people cost.
The people of Iraq didn't want us there. The people of Afghanistan don't want us there. Even the women that are being portrayed on TV as, it's a touchy subject, but here's the main thing. Who made America the morality police for the planet? Right. I mean, look at us. We can't decide if we're boys or girls. We got men trying to breastfeed babies. I mean, and we're the morality police for the planet, for a culture that, because they degrade women. Seriously, seriously, it's the most ridiculous thing I've heard of in my life. That is, it's laughable. It's so ignorant.
Do you believe we can move forward into sustaining ourselves as well as our culture? Or are we on a self-destructive route here? Because it looks as if they're just saying, you know what, let's blow it up. Let's just keep raising it up until it explodes.
We're gonna know in about 20 years when the last of the, I don't know, intelligent people that actually can distinguish between having a penis and not having a penis at birth pass away. I mean, then we're going to be governed by he, she's, and she, he's, and non-binary fluid people. So
robots.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason why we know for a fact there are aliens out there, and the government said yes, there are UFOs. There's a reason they haven't landed here, because we're screwed up. They don't want to come here.
Yeah.
If you were in a spaceship, if you're an advanced civilization and you're flying by Earth, are you really serious? And you look, you're going to stop here? Are you nuts? They're going to keep trucking. Nobody wants to come here. This place is fucked.
Yeah. Have you seen Bleep Blop Bleep? No, man, he's hooked on coke. He stopped by Earth, dude. He's a drug addict now. You think he's got some new disease called AIDS or something? He's going to spread to the universe.
He drank the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, we've had aliens watching us the entire time, and they're like, hell no, we ain't going there. It's either that, they're the ones that are putting some stuff in the Kool-Aid, and they're having one hell of an experience, and they're sitting up there right now laughing their ass off, like when we were kids and we had a magnifying glass to ants in the backyard. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
He said, "Well, we were gonna stop over and meet these Heaven's Gates guys, but
Right. Yeah, that's hilarious.
Anybody's sexual preference. I want to make that really clear to everybody in the chat. I have family members that are gay. I have family members that are lesbian. Here's the difference. If you're a dude and you like dudes, cool. I got no problem with it. Rock and roll. You're not a girl. You're never going to be a girl. It's impossible. It's biologically, scientifically impossible. You don't have that chromosome. It is what it is. All right. If you're a girl and you like girls, rock and roll. Do your thing. All right.
Trust the science.
It is what it is.
the thing everybody's eliminating out of their context is that it's perversion. Because if we were to sit here and talk about how heterosexual we are, it'd be uncouth to be doing that in front of Virginia.
Right.
You know.
Exactly. You know, and it's so hilarious. Come on up here, Arkansas. I posted the link. It's so funny how people get upset and offended about it. Let me tell you something. The only good thing about this gender confusion we got going on right now, and let's go ahead and break it down what gender is, okay? Gender is a social construct. It is a made-up word to make people feel better about fitting into society. It has absolutely nothing to do with your sex, all right? You are male or you are female, or you can be born a hermaphrodite. That is actually a biological thing. And you know what? In that case, you can kind of get to choose. I'll go ahead and it is what it is. But 9 times out of 10, when you're born with hermaphroditism, you're still male or female. Okay. You may have both sexual organs, but you also have ovaries. So you'll have dominant. Or you may have both sex organs and you have testes. So technically you're predominantly male. You just got the goody goods that you can play with that belong to the other sex. So you're your own party. It is what it is. But, you know, it's when people get it so confused that they think they can change. And the only good thing about that is right now, in another 5 or 10 years, you can legit walk down the street and punch anybody in the mouth you want to and not get nailed for hitting a woman. You know, if they offend you, punch them in the mouth. I identified him as a dude, you know, or, you know, not non-gender. I mean, it's ridiculous. Be you, you know, and it all goes back to the way people are brought up and the way that, honestly, I know it sounds stupid, but it's like, you know what? I was bullied growing up. Okay. I got my ass whipped in school all the way up through high school, and then puberty hit. And now I'm 6'2" and I weigh 240 pounds. I'm not bullied anymore. I still remember it. And you know what? It made me, the first time I got popped in the mouth, I didn't like it. Obviously nobody does. The second time I got angry. The third time I started swinging back. Okay. That's when things change. That's what boys do. That's what girls do. When you take that option away, when you take that literally training away, all animals do it. Dogs do it. Cats do it. Birds do it. They all do it. All right. That's a pecking order. That's how you establish who you are. You know, it's an important part of growing up is learning to function around people that are different than you, you know. And now excessive bullying, yeah, it can get out of hand if you just got somebody just stomping this little kid's butt every single day. But here's the thing, that little kid is going to be one tough son of a gun when he grows up, and he's going to be a man or he's going to be a woman, and he's going to know that, you know. Now you got it to where your 7-year-old, somebody talked mean to him, and now he gets his safe space, and then he figures out, wait a minute, so if I act like a girl, then they can't do that to me anymore, because then it's picking on a girl. Well, I'll just be a girl then. I mean, what the hell?
Yeah, you know that thing about being punched in the mouth, man. When I got punched in the mouth the first time, you're right, it's shock. But then you learn it ain't devastating. It's not as devastating as you felt it was. I still
remember the conversation my grandmother had with me when I got punched in the mouth by a kid. He was like 4 years older than me. I come home crying off the school bus. I'm all upset. She's like, what happened? I told her so-and-so beat me up, you know, him and his buddies. And she's like, who? And I'm like, I told her the boy's name, and she knew who he was. I mean, it was a small neighborhood. We all lived close to each other. She's like, oh, hell no. Okay, no problem. So the next morning, the next day when I got off the school bus, my grandma was at the bus stop. My mama was at the bus stop. My aunts, uncles, everybody was at the bus stop. We got off the bus, and they're like, all right, y'all do this. No, fix it. Fix the problem right now. So me and him, we went at it. and he tore off and he whooped my ass again. But here's the thing. I got my licks in. You know, he left crying and bleeding. I left crying and bleeding. And from that day on, him and I were friends. We stayed in touch for years after that, you know, but it was, you know, my grandma was like, no, you ain't running. Y'all going to work this out right now, you know, and we did. And I'm not saying it's right. You know, nowadays, if you did that, you get arrested for child abuse or, you know, illegal cockfighting with human beings or some bullshit law they come up with. But, you know, I'm glad I grew up that way, you know, I mean, because if you hit me in the mouth right now, man, it's on.
But
My
at least
cousin-
they sorted it out with, you know, where, you know, instead this kid had his group of friends. Now it's one-on-one, you know,
Yeah.
adults.
But
that
no,
makes a big
It
difference
was
too,
three
you
of them
know.
and me. My grandmother was completely cool with that. She's like, y'all beat him up again. It was three of them. They took turns on me, but I got my licks in, and it was over after that.
Yeah, my cousin got in trouble for running off and leaving me there to get in a fight with three guys. Okay, I was flirting with the one boy's girlfriend, but he was in high school. But they caught me after school, rushed up in the car, jumped out, three of them. My cousin and I standing there, and I'm like, well, we could probably take a couple of them. And he takes off fucking running as soon as the first swings. And he got in trouble for running off and leaving me there. And the other boys, they just respected me standing there going, well, we're going to fight or what?
Yeah.
Nah, leave my girlfriend alone. Don't flirt with my girlfriend.
I mean, it's, you know, they coined the term bullying, but honestly, in my opinion, it's an important part of growing up. I mean, it really is. If you don't have to assert yourself and make a stand, then who are you? You're going to grow up not knowing if you're a boy or a girl, not knowing when to cry or laugh, complain about everything. The next thing you know, you're a Susan.
Yep.
It's ridiculous.
And it's a false notion that the bigger they are, they have a glass jaw. Because I don't have a glass jaw, and I'm 6'1".
And now, even in basic training, you know, that now they've stopped the shark attacks from the drill sergeants, which is the most effective form of training, in my opinion, they have in basic training. And for those of you that don't know what a shark attack is, you watch the basic training videos where you'll see 3 and 4 drill sergeants run up and surround a soldier, and they're all yelling at the same time, and they got the knife hand going. That's a shark attack. And It's happened to me multiple times. And let me tell you something. That is one of the most, man, what would I call that? You want to talk about psyops. That is one of the most unnerving experiences you will have in your entire life, especially if they are real drill sergeants that know the deal and they can lay, man. That is, if you're in the middle of a shark attack, let me tell you something, whatever it was you did, you will never do it again. Like to this day, 20 years out of the military, whatever it was you did then, you will still not do it today, just in case, you know. Yeah, it's some legit lifelong lesson stuff. They completely shut that down in basic training. You can't do that anymore. They had the stress cards for a while, and you know, when I went in, it was at the tail end of when the drill sergeant could legitimately whip your ass and not get in trouble.
Right.
And when I went in, supposedly it was stopped. And I actually made a comment to my drill sergeant. He actually made a comment to me. Me and my drill sergeants used to go back and forth. I tested them. I mean, when I went into basic training, I could do like 3 push-ups. When I graduated basic training, I completely aced the PT test. I could do more push-ups than anybody in my platoon because I did them. I did hundreds every single day. I was always in trouble. I had a blast. I mean, I was like, yeah, man, let's do this. But my drill sergeants, I mean, he hated my guts at the beginning. At the end of basic training, we went to the PX and him and I shared a pitcher of beer. It was pretty cool. He's like, Lee, don't ever come back to Fort Benning. I'm like, no problem, I won't. But I made a comment, or he made a comment, something about whooping my ass, and I got smart with him about it. And the next thing I know, him and me are in the wood line, in the trees, where nobody could see us. He never physically hit me, but I promise you, I bounced off of every pine tree in Fort Benning. You know, I literally got my ass whipped without him like physically punching me. It's lesson learned. Yeah. I like to come and visit, but we're about to sit down at the table. Arkansas, I had planned on natives going live at 10. So I went live an hour early. I went live at 8. I planned on going for 2 hours or hour and 45 minutes or whatever, and then going over and hanging out with native. He's got a Homestead Oz over there. So I wanted to hang him. So I'll be here probably about another half hour. Maybe. It just depends on how long people want to chat, because it'll take Native a little while to get spun up. But I'm planning on heading over there. But we'll catch you next time. No big deal. Eat your food.
Hey, Ghost, you get a chance, go look at that last video I dropped of all the wars on recorded history, the battles.
That was pretty
Okay.
cool.
Yeah, it's 4,717 years of battles.
Wow.
And I put it on speed with Johnny Cash playing in the background.
That's awesome.
Led Zeppelin on the guitar, the Beatles on the second, and shoot, who else? It was somebody else on third, but it's a cool video. Oh, Beastie Boys.
Nice. You're speaking my language, kicking it root down.
I think the main takeaway from all this Arkansas stuff is we were at a tipping point in the country where, the country is pretty much getting fed up with all this crap that's going on. And now they're like strategically desensitizing us to our own pain. It's like, yeah, we've got a skinned knee, but look over here. That guy lost a finger, his hurt's worse than yours. Let's focus on Afghanistan instead of focusing on our own people. Let's switch the narrative up a little bit. We'll shove it down your throat on all the mainstream media, all the news channels. It's all going to be this, and this. So we won't talk about President Biden and his ice cream and whatever. It's man. I'm telling you, something's coming down the pipe.
With the border,
it's gonna be big. It's gonna be big.
Has anybody seen the Vice lately? Is any news on her? Because she's gone. I haven't heard nothing about her.
In the shadows.
Laying low.
Yeah.
She's not wanting to get hit, but any shrapnel when this thing goes off. It's going to get.
She's redecorating Cheyenne Mountains. What she's doing.
Right.
Yeah, and where's Circleback Saki? She's hiding too.
I think she's. I think Vice is getting her some new knee pads. She might be breaking them in. I don't know, but she's getting ready for promotion.
Good thinking. Kneecaps matter.
Yeah, but yeah, it's going to get. It's going to, because here's the thing, we sent a follow-on force of a couple thousand DRF troops from 82nd and some Marines over there. And if any American blood is shed now, when it's a rescue mission, that's everybody's heartstrings. That takes away the whole question, should we or should we not be there? We just got punched in the mouth.
I don't know. I wonder if this isn't maybe a nice little psyop to see how much patriotism is left in this country.
Well, didn't NATO pull out too?
I don't know what NATO's doing right now. Honestly, it's on its last leg. NATO's fixing to fall apart, and when that happens, guys, there's no way to fix the problems in this country. I'm gonna tell you right now, my opinion, we're just circling the drain, and right now it just depends on how long you can keep your head above water. It's something big's gonna change. There was a chance to fix it a little over a year ago, and in 10 months, knee pads and pee pads and whoever's pulling the strings up there has completely destroyed everything.
I would want to see a hypothetical, Ghost, of you talk about always rebuilding. What would you change in the Constitution that would probably fit better for the 21st century nowadays of our understanding of things, how it could be rearranged against us?
I would go back. I wouldn't change anything in the Constitution. I would change the government. There would be no more Republican, Democrat. There would be no more political parties. There would be no party affiliations. There would be no more super PACs. There would be no more donations to running for office. Because right now, let's face it, you can't get elected to office unless you're rich or somebody is rich that backs you. Okay. There's no reason for that. If I announce that I want to run for president tomorrow, I should be able to run for president. And you know what? I should get the same amount of money from the U.S. government. If I'm accepted as a candidate for president, then I can bring X amount of dollars with me. I can say I can bring $500,000 into my campaign. That's the most I can bring, and that's the most anybody else can bring. But I also qualify for, say, $1 million in government funding to run for president, the same amount everybody else qualifies for, and every major news network is contractually obligated to post equal time on each individual person instead of picking and choosing because somebody has money. You should only be allowed to bring the same amount of money to the table to run for public office. And all public office should have term limits, especially Congress, Senate, term limits, period, end of the story. The Supreme Court, absolutely not. A lifelong appointment, no, absolutely. That is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of in my life. And also there should be, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's no set number of Supreme Court justices. There can be only one. Obviously, there would always be more than one, and obviously you would always want to have an odd number to keep the court from being hung on a decision. But there's no set number: 3, 5, 7, 9, 57, 103. There's no set number of Supreme Court justices. They can just vote
lobbyists
they want, and stack the court in their favor, because it's a lifelong appointment, which is absolutely asinine. It should never be a lifelong appointment. It should not.
Have you ever come across a man that you would want to be our leader of the free world? Have you met somebody, or do you know of anybody that right off head that you say, like Reagan, say, oh, I'd like for him to be the president? Is there anybody you know of that you pick?
The thing is, if you took politics out of it, then there wouldn't be any more crooked politicians like we have right now. I mean, running the country is a business. That's why Mr. Trump was so successful, because he's a businessman. And don't get me wrong, I don't like Trump. I think he's an arrogant asshole. But you know what? He did a great job. He's a businessman, and the country is a business, and you have to run it that way. And he did. He ran it like a business, not a crime syndicate like the politicians do. He ran it like a business. It was America first, and kick rocks if you don't like it. That's why he was so successful, and that's why the American people like him. The problem is, picking a president. I mean, if it was no more politicians and everybody was on equal playing field, then you would get somebody that you would legitimately have somebody that could do the job. The problem is, I mean, people think the president has all this power. The president ain't got no damn power. He has to answer to put him in the office, him or her. They have to answer those people that put him in the office. And that's what Biden's dealing with right now, because his problem is the people that put him in office. Well, I'm not even going to go there. We all know what I'm talking about. But, it's, he has no clue who he's answering to right now, because he's not even supposed to be there. Now they're playing catch up because they lost 4 years because Mr. Trump wasn't supposed to be there in the first place. But, the machine didn't work right. And the American people spoke up, and they got what they wanted, and it was awesome for 4 years. But in a perfect world on the rebuild, the states need to have the power, not the federal government. The federal government is there to serve the states. The federal government is there to serve the states. It should operate in a national, it should operate for the entire country as a whole, but it should not govern individual states. And it works that way. And there's proof in the pudding. I mean, look at Texas, look at Florida, people respond to that. And it's
I completely agree. States' rights.
It's like with all these,
why the Civil War started. The Civil War wasn't over slavery. The Civil War was over states' rights. And you want to get mad at the Confederate battle flag? Why? Has nothing to do with slavery. Slavery was legal under the Stars and Stripes, the flag that you're flying outside your house right now when you're hating on the Confederate battle flag. All right, you want to hate on a flag that slavery was legal under? It's the Stars and Stripes. It's Old Glory. The Confederate battle flag, that was a different thing. The Civil War was started over states' rights. It was started over an over-imposing federal government that was pissed off because the southern states were going to have more power in the government because of the 3/5 law that required states that had slaves, had each person that owned slaves got 3/5 of one vote for every slave that they had. And there were more slaves in the South than the North, so the South was going to gain more power in the government. And they weren't having that. All right, don't get it twisted. There were a whole bunch of slaves in the North. The only reason there was more in the South than the North is because stuff grew better in the South. There's not a whole lot of farming up north. It was all industry. So the hub for the slaves was in the South. That's the only reason. It wasn't because the people in the South were bad and the people in the North were good. It was all geography. That's all that was.
Yeah, so they took that out of the educational system or something, or did they just really provoke that thought process
They
to
just
these
don't talk
yahoos
about
out there tearing statues down, because it
They
doesn't
don't
make
It's
talk
any
not
sense.
about true history in the textbooks.
If you look at it from a common sense standpoint, if the Civil War was fought for slavery, then Abraham Lincoln would have read the Emancipation Proclamation on day one when cannonballs were flying at Fort Sumter, not
Yeah.
Mhm.
after a couple years when the North was getting their ass kicked and they were getting in danger of losing, and it was a publicity stunt. That's the only reason he read that thing.
My
Yeah,
perception is that it had a
If it
lot
was
to do with
slavery, he would have read it
taxation.
at the beginning. He would have freed the slaves at the beginning, not towards the end.
Yep, the North
Oh.
started buying goods from overseas and stuff, and were taxing and stuff the South and not buying their products, and other things were going on. Oh yeah,
Yeah, it was. It was taxation. It was commerce, just like it always is and always will be. It had to do with supplies, supply chains, who was buying this and that. And like Go said, the South, you can grow a lot more. But really, they were technically sort of the Democratic Party
Yeah.
was all there. It's, in my opinion, it has flipped over the years. The way that we view them and their ideals, I think, have gone 180 to each other. For all intents and purposes, in my mind, Kennedy was one of the last Republican presidents.
Yeah.
If you listen to what he says and his ideals.
Yeah, before they executed him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I don't. And, to be honest with you, Dusty, when you ask the thing about the president, I don't think there should be one person. I don't think there should be a president. I think there should be a ruling council.
Oh, like the Greek system.
I don't think one person should call the shots. I think there should be a ruling council of, almost like the Supreme Court, but with a cap, 3, maybe 5 people. And that's where the.
They froze up. Or I froze up.
Nope, I'm good.
I'm good.
Looks like you fell asleep, didn't it? It looked like you
Okay,
fell asleep. You had your eyes closed, just sitting there.
You froze.
Virginia, you go back and watch Reagan's speech in 1960 about a time for choosing.
Yeah,
And
Reagan.
It was October 27th, 1964, and he was discussing these same issues you just brought up.
I'm going to write it down right now.
Was that before he got assassinated attempt?
Yeah, this was 1964.
Yeah.
And you bring up a good point, Virginia. I mean, if you want to know how to fix a democracy, let's go back to the first one that actually legitimately worked.
Yep.
And that was, Greek. The Greece way of doing it. I mean, here's the thing. If you're going to put one person in charge, then it should be done like it's being done in Russia. Putin's in charge. Don't get it twisted.
Yeah.
He calls the shots. It is what it is. Bing, bam, boom. Our president is not in charge of anything. He can veto this. He can write some executive orders, and then you turn around, the Supreme Court changes everything. So he legitimately has no power. He can have an idea, and if it gets supported by enough people, then yeah, they can push it through for a little while until the next guy comes on 4 years later and changes everything.
Yep.
That's the way it works in Russia. I mean, you got one guy in charge. He calls the shots, and it is what it is. Versus, having a legitimate Senate and having, a legitimate democracy, which we don't have. Our democracy is bought and paid for.
If I'm not mistaken, didn't Putin put himself in for life too? Or who was? I know it talks about it.
I think he tried to.
I hope he does. I hope he does, because this is the most stable Russia's been in a long, long time.
Right.
I mean, you might not like him, but at least we know where he is, and we ain't got to worry about getting to know somebody else.
I have to admit, it might be an unpopular opinion, but I don't think that Mother R is our enemy. I think that, I'm hoping, but my opinion is I don't think they are, or at least not when we had Mr. T around. I really don't think they were. Now, I don't know how shaky the ground is at this exact moment, but at the end of the day, we have more need to work together than not.
Here's the thing. Russia is not and never has been our enemy.
Right.
Legitimately on paper. Yeah. Because look, the only way you're going to get people to fund a massive military buildup is you've got to have a threat at the door. All right. If you're the biggest kid on the block and you have no threat, you're going to eventually collapse because there's no reason to keep the military built up. You have to have a threat, whether it's manufactured or real. You know, and after World War II, that was Russia. It was just us and Russia. So they had to be the threat, you know, and we broke them. But here's the thing, you know, Russia's never legitimately been our enemy. You know why? Because Russia doesn't need anything. Russia is completely energy independent. They don't need anything from us. They grow all their own food. They have all their own energy. They don't need anything from anybody else on the planet. You can legitimately just never leave Russia. They could never import anything and be just fine.
Yeah.
They don't need us. I mean, they're half the planet.
That's what, in that speech I was telling Virginia Roos to look up, Reagan was saying. What Russia said in 1964 was, they ain't got to fight us. They're just going to wait till we surrender. We're going to surrender because we're in such debt and we're going to beat ourselves up and then kill ourselves from the inside. We're just going to lay down and surrender anyway. That's what they're hoping on. And that's what Russia said in 64. But he was saying that, talking about how the liberals have turned into socialism and communism. And that's what he was talking about, trying to fight socialism back in the 60s.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
Russia.
Ironic because we've become exactly what they said and predicted. They play a long game. I said this about other nations on another channel the other day. They play a long game. We are impatient. We are immediate gratification. We are not as patient in this country. They've been sitting with the same, and a few nations have done that. I'm Japanese, and I realized that in 1940s that was not a great thing, but I don't think they're the enemy either today as it stands.
No, we are our own worst enemy. The ego of America is our own worst enemy. And I'm here to tell you,
exactly right.
The American military, 30 years ago, untouchable. Untouchable. Now, oh my God. I would literally go AWOL if I was in the military right now, more than likely, just because I know what it was and what it should be, and I'm seeing what it is and what it's been turned into. And it's not the individual soldier's fault as much as it is the spineless individuals that are at the top right now. And it trickles down. I mean, it trickles down.
Yeah.
And it's sad. I mean, here's the thing about Russia. Russia's not worried about anybody because nobody's going to invade Russia. Who in the hell wants to invade Russia? That's
right.
You have to conquer half the planet. I mean, you're fighting polar bears and shit. Who wants to do that? Leave them alone. They don't want anything from us. Leave them alone.
The only ones they got to really worry about is North Korea and China.
Yep.
Statistically, Russia just keeps getting bombarded by meteors.
The only thing keeping North Korea alive is China, because North Korea, they're going to self-implode on their own. I mean, they can't provide for their own people. China's biggest issue is numbers. They have too many people. They can't provide for their own people. Yep. So, and here's the thing. One of the main reasons why nations have gone to war all throughout history is food. You can't feed your population and your neighbor can, then you take what your neighbor has. The number one reason for wars and everything throughout history is being able to feed your people. Food is everything. Food is the weapon. Food is the reason.
Yep.
Well, China just made a threat today. If there's any, they better hope there isn't any U.S. troops in Taiwan, because it's not going to matter. They ain't going to stop them.
Yeah. China's going to get to the point to where either they need to seriously depopulate or they're going to have to reach out. I think that's one of the reasons why they're buying up Africa and buying up places, around the world where they can actually legitimately spread out like cancer and grow.
They're in South America and Venezuela.
Oh yeah, they're everywhere.
They didn't go bankrupt because of China now.
Dude, they own like 250,000 acres in Texas.
They're like a third of the United Nations Army force.
Yep, I did a video on that, and they're pumping in more and more in Africa.
China's got a massive army. Their main weakness is supplies.
Yep.
I mean, if you can't, Napoleon coined it. I mean, an army moves on its stomach. If you can't legit supply your army, then it's going to suck. But the good thing on their side is if they're constantly moving somewhere else and taking other people's stuff, I mean, they're basically eating drive-through the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't it Russia and China that just did exercises on the border to keep the Afghanistans from coming?
And now you've got
further north.
Now you've got China and Russia recognizing Afghanistan's government.
Nope.
You know, and the funny thing is, you're going to see. I promise you, you're going to see probably, definitely Chinese. Well, definitely Russian, probably Chinese troops in Afghanistan as advisors. You're going to see. Things are going to change. Like things are really going to change.
Well, the way I see it now, strategically, China and Russia, what I seen the report on was, and this is breaking news. They were doing
breaking news,
not the same operations, but they were going in at the same time, running parallel with two different operations at the same time in the north.
Yeah,
they've always been fighting over that. I mean, they've been trying to run pipelines and everything. That's a huge strategic area. They've been Russia was going after it in the 80s and stuff, and then we've been there. I mean, it's just, and a lot of it's over the resources and oil pipelines running through the country. They even did a Bond movie on it.
It's
about the pipelines and stuff.
It's going to get interesting. It's going to get very interesting. You know, and in a perfect world, you know, it would be how Mr. Trump had it. You know, Putin thinks Biden is a joke. Well, pretty much everybody on the planet thinks that knows that Biden is a joke. And it's no secret that Mr. Trump and Putin did not get along. But what is a fact is that they both respected and feared each other.
Yep.
And that's where you get your balance. If you don't, you can hate my guts, but as long as you respect me and what I can do, we'll get along just fine.
Yep.
We don't have that now.
We're a mockery.
It's a joke. And what's going to get worse is when they do the 25th and boot his ass out of office, and then Knee-Pad strolls in there with a brand new plan to fix everything. Now we're talking about we're going to have a president that nobody voted for. Not even in the primaries. That's why she dropped out. Nobody wants her there, except for the shot callers.
I don't think that's even the plan. I think the plan has been from the start that the 25th would occur. There will be some reason to boot her because she's not eligible. And then the real winner is Gollum.
What do you mean she's not eligible?
She's not born in America.
Based on where she was born or based on something, they're going to kick her out too. I think that the goal is Gollum.
President without being able to hold the office of president.
I don't think she is. I don't think she was from the start.
Yeah.
You can't be vice president if you can't be president.
Well, a lot of things have not.
A lot of things, yeah.
Yeah, but they are.
Where was she born?
Jamaica or something.
Jamaica.
I mean, look at Obama. He wasn't born here.
Yeah, he was
exactly.
Born in Kenya.
Exactly. This is not a rule they're worried about. Hey, wizard.
Yeah,
I thought there was a term limit. If she got put in under them circumstances, there would be a limit, because wasn't there a limit on Nixon?
No. If she assumes this presidency, she can still run 2 more times.
Yeah, she can. She can do 11 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
I still think the goal is Gollum, or let's say that a certain HC takes Gollum's seat somehow. I still think that there's a third person in line who is actually who they want to be the puppet. I do not think that it's knee pads. I don't believe that. I think that there's someone in the reigns after knee pads that is the true goal here, that would run for a decade. And Hillary is at the top of my list, honestly. I know that she's not even in the running, but let's say she got that seat. Let's say someone else got that seat under her control. And it could be someone else. I'm just saying, I don't think knee pads is the goal.
How about this? I mean, look at Roosevelt. He ran for 2 terms and was going to be president for a 4th term until he died. It was because of him that the term limits got put on the presidency. All right.
Correct.
That was an amendment to the Constitution.
I thought they were on there to begin with, and he suspended them because we were at war.
Maybe. I don't know. That's actually, and I should know that, but I do not. And that's a good point.
Washington had 3, and I think it was Garfield.
I think FDR.
I know Roosevelt did 3 and was going to do 4, but he passed away. But here's the thing: if you stack the Supreme Court and you have control in Congress and House, and you write up a bill that suspends term limits on the presidency, and it goes to a stacked Supreme Court that's on your side, and they pass it.
Yeah, it don't matter.
That means that BO will come back.
Right. Yep, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
I didn't even think about that.
Yep. That's another spin on it too. Yep. Yeah. I just don't think the current guys are the goal. I think there's another goal, and it'll maybe take a little bit of time, but someone that we've seen in the past, I think, is trying to work their way back in. Someone. There's many suspects.
I mean, I think the presidency of the United States should be addressed almost like the monarchy in Europe. I think it should be a figurehead, literally, and give them their executive powers, because there's a reason why there's 3 branches of the government, and it works if it's done correctly. But, have your executive powers, have your veto things, the whole 9 yards. But let's get them down off this pedestal and let the government do the work. Let the states be responsible for the states, and get the democracy back the way it should be. The states are where the power comes from. The states are the power of the country. Washington is a shithole. It's nothing.
I think a lot of these bills and stuff that go through, even local things, should be voted on by the people and not these people that are supposedly in power. I don't understand how that changed over the years.
Nobody should serve in a government position longer than the president. I mean, if that's the highest ranking government official, he should be the one that's in office the longest, period. No congressman, no 48-year. I mean, Joe Biden's never had a job, people.
Yep.
Ever.
And he's ran for president's candidacy several times in the past.
3 times. Had to drop out twice for lying.
Yeah.
Legit.
Plagiarism and stuff.
Has thrown the N-word around on live TV more than once. I mean, he's the most racist son of a bitch. He's a pedophile. Everybody knows it. I probably shouldn't have said that, but oh well. It is what it is, and you can't tell me the system's not broken. It needs a complete overhaul. There needs to be term limits on everything, period. There needs to be checks and balances. The president should have power to be the president, but he should also remain reined in at all times. That's why I think a panel of odds, a panel of 3, or whatever you want to call it, 3, 5, or even 7. I mean, here's the thing. How about just do away with the Supreme Court? Let that be the executive branch. You know what I mean? Let that be it was a beautiful system when it was unmolested at the beginning, but now every single branch has been perverted. People have figured ways around this and ways around that, and then the money comes in, and money buys everything. I mean, when you can control mainstream media, and you can spin in there, when you can literally do illegal stuff live on TV, broadcast across the nation, and then tell the people to their face, you didn't see that.
Gaslighting.
and keep moving forward. And they, not necessarily they believe it, but you've beat them down so much that they realize there's nothing they can do about it.
Right.
We are peasants in the field. Go pick your potatoes. You know, pay your homage to the castle. You know, maybe they'll let you inside the moat if stuff gets really, really bad, and they'll pull up the gate. But you're peasants in the field. So to run around and hoop and holler and think you have any control whatsoever of anything is delusional. Absolutely delusional. You know, things are eventually going to change, and it's going to be ugly, and it's probably going to be bloody. I mean, I hate to say it. I mean, it is what it is. You know, hopefully it's not in my lifetime, but I don't know. I'd rather.
I've said that about a lot of things, that it wouldn't happen in my lifetime, and oh my God, I've been wrong about everything.
Me too. Amen.
Yeah.
I've been wrong about. I didn't think I'd ever see anything like this, and I hope to God we can fix it for our children and grandchildren.
All right, everybody. It is 10 o'clock. Native's going live. I want to go over and show some support. We got 56 in the chat. Thank you, everybody, for popping in here. I'm sorry I had guests tonight. It was kind of thrown together really quick. I've been so busy. But thanks for your support. I appreciate it. Thanks to everybody on the panel. Virginia, hugs and kisses. Dusty, appreciate you guys hanging out with us. We're going to shut it down, and I'm going to head over and hang out with Native and Homestead Oz for a while. Cannon with Ghost and the Cannibals. Uh-oh.
That's sweet. I love it.
All right, guys. We will see you over at Native's channel. Y'all have a good one. We are out of here.
Yeah.